In case you didn't know, gas prices are insanely high, so Lyft and Uber has put in a new fuel surcharge. First off, if I even just search gas prices, you can see all these articles right here. An EV versus refueling a gas vehicle. Do you regret having a truck or SUV? How much are the gas prices costing people for every type of vehicle? There's just so much going on with it, as we all know, because gas prices have exploded. Even looking at here, this is a tool called Keywords Everywhere. It's an SEO tool. What it does is it shows me if I search for something, what are the trends in terms of how many people are searching for it throughout, a certain period of time. And as you can see right here, massive spike right now for gas prices. Not too surprising, right? But, of course, Lyft and Uber has combated this, and I'm glad that they did this as soon as they did, because sometimes it can take them a while to make a change, but this time they did do it rather quickly, which is good. So going to Uber right now, as you can see here, beginning on Wednesday, March 16th, this already happened. I wanted to film this video earlier, but I was doing South by Southwest here in Austin. It was basically like 10 days of nonstop events, parties, attractions. I was doing a lot of YouTube coverage for it. But anyway, summing it up, as you can see right here, beginning on Wednesday, March 16th, so this is already in place, consumers will pay a surcharge of either 45 cents or 55 cents on each Uber trip, and either 35 cents or 45 cents on each Uber Eats order, depending on their location, with 100% of that money going directly to workers' pockets. I have some mixed feelings about that, which we'll get into in a little bit. The surcharges are based off the average trip distance and the increase in gas prices in each state. This is temporary for the next 60 days when we'll reassess. Basically, they're saying, look, this is going to be in place for the next 2 months. After that, we'll figure out, do we want to keep doing this or not? Going out here to Lyft, very similar. They're doing a 55-cent fuel surcharge for each ride. So it's pretty much a flat fee with Lyft. With Uber, it seems like it's a sliding scale. I kind of like Lyft's model better. One, they're giving you 55 cents, as opposed to, with Uber, you could be at the bottom of that barrel with 45, but Lyft's making a flat thing, being like, look, 55 cents across the board, and they're also doing it for the next 60 days. Now, on one end, I think this is huge and almost inevitable and necessary. I was talking about this with friends, especially when it comes to gas prices. Especially being here in Austin for right now, I'm taking Lyfts and Ubers. I don't have my car here. So as you can imagine, that was one thing on my mind, being like, wow, with these gas prices, I wonder what a lot of drivers are doing to try to combat that. So it is good that Uber and Lyft both put in this policy. On the other end, part of me wonders, is this enough? And it could go either way. Of course, it really depends upon your vehicle. But let's say it's 50 cents, right? Uber is going anywhere from, mid 40s to high 50s. Lyft is doing a hard 55 cents. Let's say you're getting an extra 50 cents per ride. Now, it depends on your area. I'd say when I look back in LA, for example, it's sometimes even close to $1-ish more per gallon, right? So doing the math out, after 2 rides, you hopefully equal that offset of the price of gas, right? You do 2 rides, you get $1 roughly. Hopefully that offsets it. But the bigger question to me is this: does it take you a gallon of gas, and again, I'm doing very rough math here, but does it take you a gallon of gas to do 2 rides? Now, in some areas, yes, but in some areas, no. Let's say your car, and again, making things very simple, let's say your car gets 30 miles to the gallon, but if you're doing an SUV or truck, that's very different. But let's say you're doing 30 miles to the gallon, let's say you do 2 rides that are both 15 miles, you're spending an extra $1 per gallon of gas. Those 2 rides help offset that by giving you an extra $1 to offset that $1 when it comes to the jump up of gas prices. You're pretty much breaking even with an asterisk on that, which I'll get into in a second. However, let's say if you have an SUV and you're doing 2 rides and you're getting 20 miles to the gallon, well, in my opinion, you're still actually losing money. Yes, it's good that Uber and Lyft is giving you that extra surcharge to help compensate you, and you keep 100% of it, but is it enough? And it depends. On the other ends, maybe it's the opposite. I know for me personally, I used to have a Prius, and with that, obviously, as we all know, you get a ridiculous MPG. I guarantee with the Prius, especially when I was driving in Boston, those rides were typically very short. like only a handful of miles typically. So if anything, I'd actually make money. This all depends situation to situation, so that is a big thing. Another thing that worries me is, although yes, you are keeping 100% of those profits, the big asterisk on that is taxes, which a lot of people are doing right now. Of course, the tax filing date is going to be next month. And so if you think about it, for a lot of people, let's say you're getting an extra 50 cents per ride. Let's say you're doing, I'm just making this up, let's say you do 100 rides in a week. So you're getting about an extra $50 per week, making things very simple. Well, that's still being taxed, I'm assuming, right? I don't know how they're going to file it when it comes to your forms, but more likely than not, you're still being taxed on that. So it's not really 55 cents per mile or 50 cents on average to do Uber and Lyft in terms of the average amount. It's not really about 55 cents or 50 cents per mile, because if you're spending taxes on that, it's now closer to, let's say, and again, it depends on a lot of factors, maybe between 30 to 40 cents per mile. That lowers it a good amount. So now you have to do almost 3 rides to make up for that extra dollar jump per gallon. And gas, that makes things a lot more tricky depending on the MPG of your vehicle. Obviously, I'm just throwing all this out there. I do think it's a good thing that Uber and Lyft is doing this. I'm really glad they saw this and pretty much tried to act as quick as possible. I mean, this was put into place almost instantly, which is huge, but I'm just worried, is it enough? Is it enough for drivers? For people who have Priuses or cars that are going on gas, you should be good. If anything, you might make more money. But if you're doing Uber SUV or Lyft SUV, I think if anything, you're going to be losing money and you're still not going to make enough. I feel like this scale, in some ways I like what Lyft is doing, making it a hard amount of 55 cents. In other ways though, I do kind of prefer Uber's model because it depends on your location. Here in Austin, I think I see the gas is like $3.40, which for here in Austin is a lot. Compared to LA, that's almost half, right? In addition, SUV versus a Prius. Huge difference. So I do like that Uber's doing this sliding scale, but I do wish it was higher. If they said, look, 55 cents to 65 cents, now that makes more sense, pun intended, if you have a vehicle that's like big when it comes to eating up that gas. Especially for an XL vehicle, there should be, I think, a bigger sliding scale. And I do get what Lyft is saying too, but it is a pros and a cons thing though, with Lyft saying, look, we're just doing a hard amount for every ride. Some people win, some people lose. When it comes to Uber doing a sliding scale, pros and cons to that as well. But let me know what you think in the comments. I think it's good that they're doing this. I'm just worried, is it enough? For some people, yes, and they're going to make even more money. But for other people, I'm not sure.